Okay, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to our channel. We have a special guest here, Lloyd from Bitcoin Sydney. Yeah, Lloyd. Nice to meet you. Finally, it's been a while, right?
Yeah, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, if you don't know, who is Lloyd is a founder of Bitcoin Sydney, right? And right now, he's been moving to Bitcoin APAC, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually found the meeting, although I
Oh,
attended
okay.
them. It was founded by Stefan Livera, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with. And I was an enthusiastic attendee, and then he gave me the reins when he left Sydney. And so I've been doing that for the last year and a bit. And now I've moved to Malaysia. I've also decided that it's time for a rebranding.
Yeah.
And we're calling it Bitcoin Asia Pacific, or the Bitcoin APAC Bit Devs, I believe is the name. And our first meeting is the day after we're recording this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can talk about it later, you know. Yeah, I mean, like, before I gotta start with the video, can you share a little bit more about yourself and yeah, how you get into crypto for the very first time? I mean, like, Bitcoin rabbit hole for the first time, yeah.
Okay, I was definitely sympathetic to the goals of Bitcoin from the beginning, although at the beginning, the goals were very confused, okay? So as a young, let's say, university graduate, I heard about it for the first time. So, and then maybe it was on Slashdot or something like that. And I started doing the mining at the end of 2011. And I ended up shutting it down because I was only making, you know, $4 a day of Bitcoin, which is like a few coins at the time or something. Or like, yeah, I don't remember how many coins I was getting per day, but it was like $4 a day with my new GPU or something. And I decided after a few days, it wasn't worth the electricity cost. I didn't keep any of the Bitcoins around, and, you know, the same story for a lot of people, I suppose. So you've heard of the movie times. You start mining and you just threw them away because they're only worth a few bucks. But anyway, later on, I came to, always paid attention to it, but I never could not act on my interest really. And it wasn't so focused, the Bitcoin narratives. I wasn't really sure how it was going to change the world. It seemed quite inefficient. Like very few transactions can be done. So we cannot do a real big payment system on it. I'm not sure, like, we can make uncensorable payments to WikiLeaks or what, these kind of things.
Yeah, I know back then. Yeah.
We could buy drugs online with it, which seems impressive, but I wasn't sure what that actually amounted to. Then, but I decided to buy the Mastering Bitcoin book by Andreas Antonopoulos around 2015. And I got into that. The motto at the time was, you don't necessarily have to invest in Bitcoin, but you should invest in your knowledge. You should invest in yourself. It's the best investment to make, and you should educate yourself about Bitcoin. What I learned from that is that actually that's wrong. You should invest in Bitcoin and not necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the case with most people, you know. Yeah.
You should definitely buy the Bitcoin, I would recommend, and then start educating yourself after you bought it, right? You know, watch your channel in order to learn about how you can withdraw it, and, you know, which exchange to use, and then learn more and more and more after you already bought it, right? Make sure you buy it first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the case with most people, you know. I mean, yeah, some people say invest in yourself first, but the great teacher is your experience, right? So yeah, this is something that people to worry about. At the same time, is something people you know need to be concerned about. So yeah, that's the first thing first when you got into Bitcoin. I mean, what was your aha moment? I mean, when
the story is not finished, I will tell you. I'm giving you the long version. So after that stage, it was 2015, the Bitcoin price was low. I decided not to invest and simply learn about the technology. Then it came to 2017, okay? And at this moment, I didn't have much money, and I didn't want to go back and get a job. And so I began investing in the altcoins.
Yeah.
You don't mind us calling them shit coins.
Yes, exactly.
I started investing in the shit coins, trying to pick the right shit coin that would go through the roof. And educating myself more about the technology, let's say, so I could make the right investment.
Yeah.
And I did some okay choices, but in the end, as you know, 2018, everything crashed.
Absolutely.
And in this situation, I realized that I really think that actually we have a chance here to improve the world. And I'm still not sure which cryptocurrency it's going to be, but there's going to be one that takes over the world. I did not think it was going to be Bitcoin at that time. I thought it was going to be one of the other coins. And so I was still broke though, because I lost all my money in the thing. So I attempted to get a job in the actual industry. And there was a awesome company hiring called CoBlocks, which is a research lab, started in Sydney, and I joined the CoBlocks research lab. And we were doing atomic swaps at the time. So Bitcoin to Ethereum atomic swaps. And I learned a lot working with those guys. I got a great income from those guys and was able to learn a lot. I worked with Bitcoin. And so I started listening to the Stephan Livera podcast because he interviewed a lot of technical people around Bitcoin. So he interviewed them, but he also talked about the economics and the theory of it. And so things started to click in my head, like actually, it is Bitcoin that is the one. The thing that we were looking for is actually Bitcoin. I was blinded by my own, self-interested greed, let's say, by wanting it to be. I want it to be one of the other ones so I could get in early, right?
I know.
See that in retrospect. But actually, we're still early. I was early then to realize it was Bitcoin. We're still early, actually. And so I moved my thinking more towards this Bitcoin-centric view of the world. And by end of 2019, I was 100% a Bitcoiner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's your Bitcoin journey. I mean, to become Bitcoin maximalist, how to say. But it's happened with most people, including myself. Yeah, but I'm still, even though like maybe you see on my channel, right? I mean, I cannot like become, like to tell people to do what to do, because what I do in my channel is give information for both sides, right? Either it's, I know it's Bitcoin is the only solution, but at the same time, I don't want to mental block for some people, because the key of mass adoption is for me is not like toxic or all of that, right? Even though like the toxic is quite a good one to defend Bitcoin ethos, right? So yeah, that's pretty much about myself compared to yours. But your experience maybe might be admired for some people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a proponent of being toxic. I'm a proponent of being nice.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's people have their own purposes. And right now, could you tell a little bit more? I mean, what project are you currently on with Bitcoin APAC? Because there's some webinar right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, my interest is that I'm moving into the region here in Malaysia, and you have a lot of countries around here, but the Bitcoin scene is very fragmented, although all these countries are close to each other, and then you can travel easily between them. And so I was wondering, like, could we start getting together as Bitcoiners? And so I just took the name Bitcoin Asia Pacific, or APAC BitDevs, and we're making online meetups that are friendly to this time zone, and hopefully to build a community of people in this time zone talking about Bitcoin. Especially, I mean, for me, the meetings are about technical stuff. So I'm interested in learning from other people who are developing Bitcoin and want to bring them on to ask some questions. But I hope this can lead to like some in-person meetings eventually, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Where we meet up in a certain country, part of the ASEAN, one of the ASEAN countries, and we meet each other in person and grow the scene here in
Yeah.
the Asia Pacific region, which I think is a fantastic
Yeah.
location through
Yeah.
most ways of looking at it. It's a fantastic location for Bitcoin development and Bitcoin usage.
Yeah.
But there isn't that much of it yet. So the
Yeah, I
question
know.
is why, and what can we do about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because maybe that's the people in here in Indonesia in particular, have their own conference, right? I mean, the conference is being held online. So due to the different type of island, so people cannot gather together. So I understand your point of view because we also have like idea to that's a good idea to say the least, because it's gather in person is even though like it's kind of same during the webinar, but the feeling is like quite different, right? Slightly different, right? So and then you get hands-on experience, and that's the most important thing. And at the same times, right now maybe the adoption that need to be focusing on first, because like you said before, you what is it? Focus on like development, right? And I mentioned for you before, like development in Indonesia only focus on like mass adoption. Yeah, even though like they still are learning about the development for the first time, but at the same time, I think the what is called the implementation of the development is still in progress. That's pretty much that you need to know about the progress in here. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of technical issues to fix before you can get mass adoption per se, right? So
Absolutely.
It's up to hardcore people like you
Absolutely.
and your colleagues and your friends who are trying to like push Lightning Network and stuff to figure out what are the problems, because there are problems, right? Into making this into practical tools. So yeah, we gotta work on the technical side, and then there's also the social network, right, of Bitcoin, which is also important. Which I'm just I don't see myself as the person to do it, but I just want to see what happens. I'm not.
We can do that later. I mean, like, that's the point of like Bitcoin APAC, right? I mean, maybe there's some Bitcoin, development stuff in there right now still, but when it comes to like Indonesian Bitcoin conference, maybe you can enjoy and hang out or sometime in there because it's like online event still, maybe in October if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so it's going to be online. So then, okay, I mean, I can hang out online. No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
it'd be cool to come.
I know. Yeah, that's the difference, right? I mean, that's the maybe guys, if you're like interested in Bitcoin developer, you can follow like Bitcoin APAC for deeper knowledge about Bitcoin developer, right? So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah. So and then what's the future plan of Bitcoin APAC before like maybe is you wanna push programming for Bitcoin programming for most people? Yeah, because by implementing it, what is called Bitcoin mass adoption is not enough, right? I mean, maybe the technical side need to be improved. I don't know. What's your future plan? It's all about.
It definitely does. There's a lot of things to do before it becomes practical that you can take entrepreneurs can just take things off the shelves and build real competitive systems that are not just niche for Bitcoiners, I think. But whether it's happening, I mean, you see El Salvador, there is a system there where people are transferring Bitcoin. It's obviously custodial I think for most usage of the thing. But this is not necessarily like a bad thing. So we have, we need to improve the custodial technology a lot, right? So it's not even about just peer-to-peer technologies like Lightning Network, but even the custodial choices need to be a lot better than they currently are. So we have a lot of work to do in all domains of Bitcoin engineering. It is a very hard, let's say sub-genre of engineering.
Absolutely.
So we're still learning about what's the right way to build these systems. And to tie that back into Bitcoin APAC, one of the kind of meetings that I want to do is to get people to come on and explain the system they're building, and for us to look at it and say, what could be better? How can we do this? And then create a way of people who want to work on that project or like that open source project to be able to go and look at the video and have an introduction already with like a Q&A session and this kind of thing, that they can have things explained to them, weird things, and they have the general idea of the code, not just the technology. You've probably, a lot of you heard explanations of the Lightning Network and so on. But this, as a developer, is not sufficient to take a Lightning project. It's like, oh, it's the Lightning Network, so I know how all this code works. Not at all. You need to understand the language, and you need to understand how those components are built and the architecture and design philosophy of that project to really be able to contribute anything to it, or even decide like, maybe I don't want to use this one. Maybe I want to do something completely different or do my own one. So what I want to do is, give those kind of presentations where we invite those people and get that content out to people, so we can improve how each of us develops things in Bitcoin, because I guess there's always a limitation of how much you can learn from others, because you have to spend time looking at other people's code to learn from them. But I think we need to increase that, because these systems that we're building all have very common kind of properties. There's a security aspect to them.
Absolutely.
There's, this looking at the blockchain aspect to most of them. So you have to look at transactions on the blockchain, gather data about the transactions of the blockchain, make sure it's all consistent amongst multiple parties, trigger events when certain things happen. And so all these problems are kind of similar, and I see it being done in maybe different ways, and maybe we could come together and figure out what is the actual right way to build these systems, because I'm not sure. But many people are building these systems. So I would like to get everyone like on the same page. And maybe one thing that would be great is we could write a book like how to engineer Bitcoin for Rust engineers, or like, focus on a deep dive on a topic that is actually, this is how you build the systems. We've figured it out from all these projects. If you start a new project, or you want to get into one of the existing projects, here's a book you must read first. That would be great if we could eventually get to something like that.
Yeah, because this is like the new technology, right? I mean, the consequences of that. I mean, you can never sure, and you can never know what the technology is all about in the near future, in particular, right? But I think like Bitcoin itself is like, is like absolute, right? You cannot be tolerated or something like that. But when it comes to like the development, like Lightning, like you mentioned before, and and Bitcoin improvement proposal, there is something that need to be. I mean, there is like, untapped area, right? So that's pretty much about that need to be improved. So it's. Bitcoin improvement proposal in particular, this one I would like to ask to you about, is like, the proposal itself, the overview, it's gonna take some step, or maybe even like you said that before about a presentation with some people need to be on so many stages, right, before it get approved, right? For example, like BIP recently happened, because maybe my audience don't know what it's all about. Maybe like you can elaborate a little bit more.
Improvement proposals. Well, there's actually I think the first Bitcoin improvement proposal explains Bitcoin improvement proposal. So if you go to the first one or the second one, I can't really remember, you'll find an explanation of the process. They basically, all technical projects have this kind of system. Once they get big enough, is that you propose a change to the system, or you could just simply propose. In Bitcoin, is really nice. You don't have to propose a change to the system. You can just propose some useful information that everyone should know about, and we should all kind of agree that that's a good way to do things. So how do you derive keys? When you go to Bitcoin wallet, you have your master seed. There's a convention on how you derive keys from that master seed, which is a Bitcoin improvement proposal. It doesn't affect the Bitcoin node software, the net Bitcoin consensus mechanism at all, but it's an informational Bitcoin improvement proposal, which improves Bitcoin via providing information. So We have you on the other side of that, other than the informational ones, we have actual changes to the Bitcoin consensus system. Okay, and these are the most controversial ones. These are the ones that take the longest time. These are the ones that cause the most infighting and drama.
Absolutely.
And so we had one pretty successful one that went off without a hitch, pretty much called Taproot.
Yeah, Taproot is quite successful, right? Even though like the side miner at first, don't like the idea, quote unquote, but it's finally delivered, right? Taproot.
Someone didn't like it. I don't know. I mean, there weren't that many people who didn't like it. I don't think. I think it was pretty popular, but some people didn't, for various particular.
But it's already activated, right? I mean, Taproot is already right? Yeah,
it's activated. It was planned, activated.
So what's your thought on Taproot though? Yeah, is it like
Taproot is a really good. It's a really great change.
Okay.
We're realizing some kind of small mistakes that were made with it, but overall, it is in retrospect a brilliant change to Bitcoin. So it's going to be big. It hasn't, probably people have heard that. Oh, it's Taproot. It's going to be big, right? But no one knows what that means, and no one's seen any benefits from it so far. That is definitely the case. There has been very little improvements actually engineered that utilize it. And part of that is the reason is very difficult. People are still figuring out the fundamentals of how to build these systems in general. So giving them a different address with some new features, and it doesn't necessarily lead to some big explosion. Because
exactly.
Mass adoption, because we are still actually figuring out very basic things, but how to engineer things around Bitcoin, building the tools properly. So this is the main reason I'd say that you haven't seen that much action, but it's coming. It's coming. Many people are working on things. I'm working on things, and it's going to be. It's not. You shouldn't evaluate it over 1 year or 2 years. It's more like a next 100 years. So in my opinion, this is Taproot is like establishes how Bitcoin will work from like the basic address and signature scheme that authorizes transactions for the next, as far as we can look forward. I think there may be other soft forks that sort of augment it, are coming. But the way that Taproot works is probably going to be the way that Bitcoin works for the foreseeable future in my lifetime, I expect. And that could be wrong, but I think that that's the way it is. And it's a very, very good change, and it's going to take some time to utilize it because, as I said,
if I'm not mistaken, Taproot is make like anonymous transaction more feasible, right? I don't know, maybe it's something more than that, or just because some people say that it's Bitcoin, you cannot do criminal things with Bitcoin, right? Because it's like traceable or all that. But at the same time, with this implementation, do you think is there any difference? Maybe you can do that by using forensic, because there's some money laundering with Bitfinex a couple of months ago. So I don't know. What's your view on Taproot in terms of that?
Privacy. It allows you to build things that are more private. Okay, so but it's not. It's definitely not a solution for the problem of Bitcoin privacy, and it wasn't built as such. It's just less bad than the current previous way we were doing things. Okay. So what Taproot does is it provides a very important piece of the puzzle for Bitcoin privacy, which is to make transaction outputs, which is where your coins are, right? The location of your coins, the addresses look the same, look indistinguishable from each other, regardless of whether you are just sending coins in a single sig, right? So a single sig, the ledger wallet or whatever, and just making a transaction, or if you're doing a multi-sig, they will look the same. Okay, the transaction will look the same and the outputs will look the same. And so that will look the same. Opening a Lightning channel will look the same as those as well. Okay, so on the chain. So, and pretty much every single thing you do with Bitcoin will look the same as everything else. Okay, from an output perspective, from looking at the transactions themselves and looking at the outputs, the outputs will all look the same. And when you spend from them, it will look the same. So this is the key thing that is an important piece of the puzzle. Okay, but this does not get rid of the problem that you can look at a transaction and look backwards and see which transaction this came from, right? And then look backwards further. This doesn't touch that problem at all, right? But we have some theory going on how to do Bitcoin so that when I make a payment to you, you don't see where my coins came from. Okay, so this is by not doing a direct transaction, but doing some tricks. Okay, on the side, on layer 2 tricks, like Lightning Network is an example. You don't necessarily know if I make a Lightning payment to you where the coins came from. But there are things that we can do that are more purposely designed for privacy that doesn't assume a payment channel network that we can do, which I'm looking at now and I'm really excited about. So, and Taproot is necessary to build those things, okay? So the Taproot chain is necessary to build those things, but Taproot by itself, the main thing is about making things all look the same, and then you can try and break the links. Now, why is the looking the same important step, breaking the links? Because if you try and break a link, right, but then a transaction that has its link broken to the other one, looks like has a certain pattern to it, like has a fingerprint to it, right? Then you've broken the link between them, but the fingerprint over there and the fingerprint over there look the same. So you can relink them despite the link being broken. So with Taproot, we want to make everything look the same. And then this problem when we actually figure out how to break links when we make payments, so that when the coins you receive have nothing to do with the coins that were sent. That that's
the idea of the anonymity, right? I mean, to make everything the same, so maybe it's cannot be traceable in many ways. I don't know.
Yeah, distinguishability.
That's the way.
Yeah, there's two aspects to it. Is the distinguishability of the outputs, which is like the addresses and the spends from those addresses, making sure that those addresses are all uniform and look the same. And then there's looking at the transaction structure. How do those outputs which have those addresses get linked to the inputs, which get linked further to outputs, and how those links, what those links tell you about the outputs themselves? Because there's the output, which is the script, or what the address looks like, which tells you something about it, or how it gets spent from. And then there's also how it's linked to the inputs, which tells you something else. And if you don't do well on both of them at the same time, you don't do well on either. You don't do well for privacy much at all. So that's the basic answer.
Yeah, it's still traceable with forensic as well. You know, if I'm not mistaken, there's like Bitcoin forensic, right, to trace other stuff.
Yeah, it's very easy because every coin you spend is linked to the coin you spend, right? So I send you money, and then the coin that I deleted in order to give you the coin can be seen. I deleted this coin and gave it to you. Well, then if you know something about the coin was deleted, then I know something about the coin was given to you. That, in other words, came from me. And so this is just a big problem. It's very convenient for Bitcoin to be built like that because it makes the software easy to write and easy to achieve consensus over that kind of system. But for privacy, the linkages of this ledger, the integrity of the ledger, in other words, is too much integrity. It's linking, it's telling us all, it's too verifiable. It's telling us all too much information about the coins that I'm giving you so that I can verify that the ledger has integrity and is doing what it's supposed to do. But I believe on layer 2, we can delete these links. But it's going to take some time and some more further research.
With that's the way, I mean, you do a webinar with what is called Pichaard, right? Before in the Bitcoin Sydney, and then yeah, I saw the webinar and the results still ongoing, right? Is that
What was that you saw?
Pichaard, Rennie Pichaard.
Rene Pichaard,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have him on the channel, right? On the webinar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he
So
did a really great presentation
yeah,
about sort of the limitations of Lightning, and as well as like how can you maximize payment success
yeah,
given the privacy that Lightning tries to provide to you. Okay, so what we have in Lightning, we have this kind of trade-off, and it's an unfortunate trade-off. It's like the more private you want it to be, the less likely the payment will succeed. This is not like a completely correct. It's like,
yeah,
it's to some extent there is a trade-off between privacy and payment reliability.
yeah. I know.
What I think about a lot is how to remove that trade-off. Okay, but
Okay.
Rene's presentation is how do we make the best of the trade-off, to make the best trade-off, so that we can get as much privacy as possible with as much payment reliability as possible without, with still there's a trade-off there. But so what I think about is how can we just stop this problem altogether? It's a more ambitious one. It probably will take some more time and less immediately applicable than Rene's work, which is already being used.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the point. I mean, it's still a work in progress, and then maybe take some time to do so. Pretty much about the Lightning and about the trade-off, yeah, guys. So Pichaard and the teams and the Bitcoin engineer still working on it so that Bitcoin mass adoption is more convenient for most people, right? I mean, there is like criticism as well. I saw in the tweet from Pichaard in regards to respond to Jack Smeller's strike by using Lightning, right? Maybe that's the reason, I mean, because there's like trade-off with privacy, right? I mean, payment with privacy. I don't know. Maybe do you think that's the reason, or there's something else?
The reason for some controversy on Twitter?
No, I mean like some like Bitcoin mass adoption with Lightning. You think that this is something
because of privacy? No,
No, I mean the Lightning itself. I mean when you like yeah, I know Lightning is like bring transaction with more speed with more speed, but at the same time there is still like trade-off like you said before, right? I mean, is it like good for like mass adoption scalable views, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I don't think that a lot of the original conceptions of it, where everyone's phone runs a Lightning node, is going to be the way things turn out or executes the Lightning protocol. I think that let's say what I know for sure. Payment channels themselves are definitely going to be the way Bitcoin scales. To a large extent. So what Lightning Network is a network of payment channels. Okay. Yeah. So right now there is one protocol for establishing that network. What we use is called the Lightning protocol, right? The Lightning, which has specifications. And I think what we'll play around with is different ways of arranging those channels and setting up the relationships with each other, which perhaps are, give a less opinionated or have a different way of looking at the problem than the Lightning network, which was sort of all batteries included and adhering to some, let's say, strict and design principles that made it both compelling as a story, right? Yeah. And a good first attempt at payment channels. It was able to get people on board and to build a thing, and the thing exists, which is incredible. Like if you take a step back and look at the Lightning network, it's unfathomably brilliant that this thing exists, because Bitcoin itself is amazing, the fact that it exists.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Then on top of that, we've built a network, and it works. It does work. That you can transfer this asset through anyone in the world non-custodially with a bit of setup and so on.
Yeah.
So we're talking about something that is incredibly amazing that exists, and the question is, why doesn't everyone just be using this all the time? There's a few reasons. Some of them are to do with the technology, but some of them are just Bitcoin isn't used by everyone. Not everyone wants Bitcoin or to receive Bitcoin. And so in fact, very few people. We're very, very early, right?
Yeah.
And so what I think is going to happen is payment channels are here to stay.
Yeah.
But we're going to be playing around with the relationships that payment channels establish to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm not going to predict how big a part, the most successful sort of arrangement here of payment channel protocols. Will it be the Lightning Network? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it'll definitely be leveraging payment channels in some way. And so this is the Lightning Network is its first attempt at that. And then we'll see what other attempts that come out of it. And it may very well be that it is the Lightning Network, that further iterations of the Lightning Network are the things that stick, because it has some very nice properties. But it may also be other things. To give you an example, like maybe something like the Lightning Network exists, but it's between rather large parties.
Yeah.
Right. And then your phone, the Bitcoin that you own, not necessarily that you have for everyday spending, let's say, is not necessarily doing the Lightning Network itself. Maybe it's like custodial, and those large custodians are using payment channels between each other. But then you sort of, when you need some more cash, you top it up from your cold storage, from your properly secured coins. So this kind of thing, you can see it's happening a bit. We have custodial Lightning, right? And these things it's the model El Salvador choose to take. So these things are happening, and this may be the way things go. And it wouldn't be a tragedy if that were to happen. So I keep a very open mind about custody, and just because custodians suck today doesn't mean they're going to suck in the future. What's important is the layer 1 is always decentralized, and you can always opt out of any layer 2 that we build onto them. Send Bitcoin directly. That's like a crucial point. Then I don't care about the decentralization of the layer 2 as much then, right?
Yeah.
As long as the layer 1
it's all about scalability, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So there's going to be a lot of trade-offs that you could make in layer 2, and when no one is sure about what those trade-offs will actually end up with being the most popular one, and there may be many that are used for different situations. And then the Lightning Network, though, you can say it's like the one that brought the trade-offs it made is the one that brought the most developers together to actually make that thing exist, which is fantastic, because it existed only in people's minds not that long ago, and now it exists and you can use it. And there's many people, there's thousands and thousands of people just hugely involved in making transactions on the thing and setting up their nodes to route payments and stuff. And it's brilliant, right? So that brought the developers together. What will bring the users onto the payment channels and layer 2?
Absolutely.
That we don't know yet, right?
We can never know.
It may be Lightning, but it may be other things, right? Maybe a combination or a composition of things.
Yeah, because not only Lightning, I agree, because there is like Bitcoin Stack. Bitcoin Stack is also, but some people say it's like shitcoin or that. But I don't know, Bitcoin Stack
I don't know
from
what the stack thing is. I know I've heard of it, and then people talking about it, but I cannot figure out what the hell is going on with.
I know. Yeah, that's but the idea is like we can never know whether it's Lightning, but for sure Lightning is getting mass adoption. But do you think that I can see that you agree with the statement of Pichaard, right, about the conflicted thing about the mass adoption with Lightning? Is that what you're saying? I mean, you completely agree with him? Is that what you're saying?
I can't remember the way Rene put it, but I don't remember disagreeing with much that he said. I pretty much because
Oh,
I'm the
okay,
one
yeah,
who
because
was.
yeah,
What-
this
just
is like
everything he
like
said,
viral tweet. Maybe like a couple months ago. I will like we'll find out later on.
he said
But
something
yeah,
spicy
that's
on
the
Twitter
idea,
and it
right?
got a lot of ads. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, because you only focus on the development, right? I can only see tweet pop up in the timeline. So yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Right.
And yeah, the lightning itself is getting mass adopted, right? Is that
I think
thing, right?
people are going to have to keep their eye on Bitcoin Twitter, probably going to have to open up their minds. And the problem is, Bitcoin is 5% technology, 95% narratives, right? It's a
Absolutely.
story we're telling about the technology.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes the technology people give the narrative people a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
Because we change our minds about what the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
things should
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah.
There's like lots of
Yeah,
funny
yeah, yeah,
examples that go
and
along
then
where
because Bitcoin is the protocol, you can do it with I don't know, maybe the culture or muscle manlis or what. Yeah, but yeah, Bitcoin is just math, and people need to like listen to the developer people. So I don't know.
yeah,
That's
sometimes we
what
find
it is.
better math and then like the story just has to change around the math. It's very funny to watch, right? There's
Absolutely.
one
Yeah,
there's
that's
one funny example.
yeah.
There's one
It's
funny
kind
example,
of
which is there's one example which is the Satoshi decided to hash public keys. Okay, so rather than putting a public key, elliptic curve public key on the blockchain, which he did originally, he eventually decided that it had to be hashed. Okay, so
yeah,
go through a hash function first, and you put the hash function result on the blockchain. And
yeah,
this is the standard address that if you're a Bitcoin user, you've been using pay to public key hash addresses. So your address that you look at, that you deposit into Binance or some other exchange, or you withdraw into your own wallet, is almost certainly a pay to public key hash address for most of you. And so you've used this hash of a public key. And the reason he said is that he wants to be secure against quantum computers, okay, which are computers that don't exist, but are theorized to maybe one day exist. So he did that because he knew that they would be able to crack public keys then if they had quantum computers that were sufficiently large enough, but they would not be able to crack a public key hash.
yeah.
But when you spend, the problem with this reasoning is when you spend from a public key hash address, you reveal the public key, and at that point it can be cracked. And so there was a kind of narrative like Satoshi's a genius for putting this hash there, and then like one day, like the technical community decided like, no, this makes no sense. This was a dumb idea, and we're getting rid of the hashes. And now everyone has to change the narrative. It's like, oh, Satoshi, yeah, never mind about the hashes. The hashes are dumb, and Satoshi is no longer a genius with respect to that. So it's like you have to change the narratives a lot, and I think that there's a lot of narratives that are going to be changed because I see the narratives popping up there in the Bitcoin Twitter as well. And yes, you're going to have to think of better stories. You're going to have to make sequels to your stories to explain what we're about to do next to make this thing work. Because obviously we're committed to making the key properties of Bitcoin preserved for layer 1 and layer 2, which is number 1 for me and a lot of people is that you cannot be diluted, right? So one Bitcoin is always a certain proportion of all the Bitcoin that exists.
Yeah, that's the math.
Well, it's not math.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
there's 21 million. That's all there is. There's no variables in there. There's no algebra. There's no X and Y. It's just 21 million. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That's the math. It's the number. No variables. And then I like that number. We're not changing it. Some people want to change it, right? But,
and
21 million. So then you also have like your transactions cannot be censored, right? And you cannot reverse transactions, right?
Yeah.
So we got to keep these properties together, but the stories we're going to tell about that is going to change, right? So the stories
absolutely, yeah, that's the narrative over the past decades, from like digital payment. To store of value, to digital gold. Yeah, as long as Bitcoin getting half for 4 years, for every 4 years, I think the narrative will change always, But I don't know.
the dilution one was not as important, right? That was not like a core property that people talked about that often. A little bit, but at the beginning it was more like we can donate to WikiLeaks and do like some illegal payments with this thing.
Yeah.
Turned out not to be that useful for that, actually. I mean, it's okay. You can make uncensorable payments, which is pretty good. But they'll be traced and stuff, you know, so we need to do a better job there. So the uncensorable thing is super important. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely important. But the dilution thing, people were not really sure about that. It was more like we can do lots of transactions like Visa and MasterCard. And obviously the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Core split was the key defining thing, which added not dilution. No, dilution is a first priority to Bitcoin. It's the money, stupid, you know, it's the monetary properties that matter, not the payment system properties. Okay, so it's not, the payment system is sort of auxiliary to it's necessary for the money to exist, that you can make payments with it. Otherwise everyone would just have digital,
that's the
never move, right?
Yeah, that's the narrative of Bitcoiner, you know. I mean, like Roger Ver, when you become, you know, Bitcoin Judas from Bitcoin Jesus, he said that, he said that the narrative Bitcoin is changed, right? I mean, during like Bitcoin peer-to-peer electronic cash, but it's no longer being done, right? But I don't know. He's trying to push another narrative. That's why they maybe you know, created like Bitcoin Cash or something.
Yeah,
but
right.
this is this is it. You know, I mean,
we changed the definition of cash, and it's right? We changed the definition of cash a little bit. There, right? I mean, cash. People are thinking like, oh, it's just you can use it for everyday payments because like you use cash for everyday payments, right?
Yeah.
Like you can use Bitcoin transactions on chain for everyday payments, and that's cash, right? But really what we're saying with cash is that you can do it and no one can confiscate your cash once you've made the payment, and you can't reverse the payment. That's really what the cash bit meant. Not that you should use it to buy coffee, because the problem with Bitcoin is that every single person in the world who runs a node on the network needs to keep a copy of your coffee transaction for all time, which is not a great way to build a system. And so now you could try and build something like that, and I'm not like completely dismissing it. It's just turns out that is not as important as the non-dilution and the verifiability of the system.
Yeah,
and
it's
also,
an honest
early
money.
in this. We're still so early to decide to tune these parameters to just become like a hose of data that everyone runs a server on. You could do that, and it would you would have a payment system that would be not so great, but also non-censorable. So you can understand, like, uncensorable and not reversible. So you can understand that why you would want to try that, but also we don't want to just like tune the parameters to some insane extent when we don't really know what we were doing yet.
Yeah.
And the success of BTC rather than BCH is just like, It explains that we took the right path on that choice, turning it into a transaction hose where we just gigabytes, blocks, or whatever. The conservative approach has shown that really what we need is the layered approach is the right approach.
Exactly, because
it takes longer, but it will get you there.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly, I understand, you know, I mean, Bitcoin is like very variable. Unlike the other chain, maybe can be corrupted and can be changed whatever I will. Yeah, even though like Bitcoin is like consensus, still, you know, it's hard to change from our original protocol, right? So yeah, that's the beauty of Bitcoin. And then you're right, the main proposition is like about the verification in every 10 minutes, right? So that's pretty much about Bitcoin revolution.
Simple, stable, and move slowly, and we'll figure out what the next 100 years is going to look like for humanity. But if you decide that like the next 100 years is going to look like 1 gigabyte blocks, right? And you just decided that, what if you're wrong and then you just like killed the thing? You know, that's the risk that you take if we actually got all on board with the Bitcoin Cash thing. It's not like it would be a completely useless thing. We may have just pigeonholed ourselves into some kind of thing that will fail and is not actually what we needed for the next 100 years to combat the existing problems we have. Maybe that isn't what we needed, not like a bunch of transactions per second. And it turns out this, you know, spoiler alert, it wasn't what we needed. What we needed is a global settlement layer that allows you to transfer this undilutable, uncensorable asset, and then
unconfiscatable.
Upon that layer, we can upon that layer we can build any payment system we want. That's I'm still
because
totally
you know, before maybe before 2008 or maybe before the 1971 when, you know, gold standard being removed, the cash works pretty well, you know. I mean, the idea is like to give people peer-to-peer, right? I mean, but you know, there is getting diluted because hyperinflation all over again, and the cash is like shitcoin. So I don't know if I put it that way, but this is like Bitcoin try to, you know, maybe especially for a country like ourselves to find like, you know, like Noah Ark, right? So I don't know. I'll put it that way. So that's pretty much about the
one
Bitcoin.
thing I was thinking about that. I'd be interested to hear what you think. I don't know. Were you around during, like, were you a BitTorrenter and like using these like peer-to-peer file sharing stuff?
Yeah, BitTorrent. No BitTorrent, but torrent. Yeah, I used you know, I used to use it. Yeah, back then.
Yeah. So we like on the internet. People are part of this BitTorrent network, and like there's also the LimeWire and the Kazaa and those other things back in the day. Like that definitely changed the way the music industry works, right? And the film industry, and now we have Netflix and stuff, and like the internet found just a better way of doing peer-to-peer, you know, better way of doing music and video, right? It just found a better way where you just click the thing you want on the internet and get the thing that you wanted. And that's what Netflix is, right? And Spotify and all these things, that you pay a fee for convenience, and it is more convenient. And you get things that you wanted. And so we totally changed the players of the music industry and the film industry and the TV industry through this technology. And one thing that could happen in Bitcoin is that a state who's like you previously, the you know, the issuer of money, could just steal our ideas, right? They could make an undilutable CBDC that is uncensorable and transactions cannot be reversed, right? They could do that. And then Bitcoin would may be worthless after that. I mean, if the US government said, hey, we're going to just give out a CBDC that we cannot stop and cannot be diluted, and that's the US dollar now. We're never creating any more US dollars. You know, we're going to have to borrow it. I'm going to have to tax to pay money. We're not going to be able to issue new money to pay, you know, pay for our existing debts. I mean, that would be huge. And that would be stealing Bitcoin's ideas. And that would be an interesting way for the whole thing to end. It doesn't look like that's the way it's going to end. It looks like the way it's going to end is they refuse to steal our ideas and suffer the consequences.
It's like, you know, Muhammad Gandhi's quote, you know, if you can beat it, join it, right? I mean, that's the maybe it becomes when they laugh out first, they will laugh at last, right? But I don't know, maybe I put it that way because you know, they can do whatever they like, you know. I mean, the government still have the guns, right? I mean, in order to push narrative or something like that. It particularly happened with the Sri Lanka recently. It just unfortunate situation to deal with. But I see that you know, it becomes more and more feasible nowadays because even though like Jack Dorsey is like a big proponent of Bitcoin, but the solution to the problem, I mean, yes, he pushed the narrative of hyper Bitcoinization, but the solution is like still the same, you know. I mean, like UBI, right? I mean, this is something, you know, it's completely two different ideas with Bitcoiners, right? I don't know. It's just I put it that way, you know, because I can see, you know, the narrative. It doesn't mean that Jack Dorsey is like bad guy or something, because we can never trust anyone, right, in Bitcoin, because it's trust verified. So I don't know. I just I understand your point of view before, because the government can steal our ideas, right? I don't know.
I hope. I mean, you would like kind of want them, even though like probably you and I would be poorer as a result relative to others, right? If they tried to compete with Bitcoin on Bitcoin's own terms, I think it could go well for them. Certainly a lot of the institutional investors, right, would switch over to the new US dollar standard, right? But it doesn't look like, it looks like they're so far away from doing this that and getting further away, like you mentioned with the UBI ideas, right? They're getting further and further away from it, that we have a real chance to make Bitcoin the actual standard. And I don't think
we can never know, because even though like the math itself is like absolute, but still we can never know, because the adoption is still on progress. I don't know. That's pretty much I would like to tell. But I find it interesting when you mention about like unconfiscatable or something, because I can saw in an article about BIP 324, if I'm not mistaken, doing like encryption. So could you like elaborate a little bit more about that? Because maybe is something that's really useful. I know it's useful, but at the same time, what's the progress?
Honestly, it's like something that should have been done a long time ago, but other things got in the way, let's say. Many attempts have been made to introduce, BIP 324, because not everyone knows what these numbers mean, right? It's the Bitcoin improvement proposal that wants to bring encryption to the protocol, okay? So when you're, right now, a big problem with Bitcoin is that when you broadcast a transaction, you do it in clear text, which means that your node, let's say you run a node, Bitcoin node at home, you tell it to broadcast a transaction, your wallet tells it to broadcast a transaction, so that it gets included in a block soon. It will not be encrypted. And so your ISP is looking there, and like not only let's say your ISP can see your transactions as if they were a bank. You log into your bank, you make a transaction. Your ISP is going to look at them and say like, oh, this is the transaction made by this guy at this IP address, and he sent it around. So this is really bad.
I know
that can happen. We got to fix it. And the BIP 324, the question is, what was the actual way of doing it? And it sort of took some time to get the consensus and a team around it that was going to build something that could last a long time. And so then eventually, our some great work was done originally by Jonas Schnelli, and then he took like, if you're techies in your audience, know SSH, the protocol. He took like the SSH protocol to encryption off the shelf and just applied it to Bitcoin, which was a great way of proceeding, I think. And then it didn't really get enough support. And then we got like the full, let's say, we call it the full cryptographer treatment of Bitcoin's cryptography community, including, and obviously, especially Peter Willer, who is like probably the individual Bitcoin developer who's responsible for many of the ideas and implementation of Bitcoin's cryptography.
But if I'm not mistaken, like elective cryptography is using like encryption, right? I mean, SHA-256, right? But I don't know what
let me just clear up a few terms. I cannot let
sorry.
Go by. So Bitcoin uses elliptic curve cryptography, which is not necessarily encryption, but as many other things like digital signatures and so on. Now, this has very little to do with SHA-256, which is a hash function, although many schemes use elliptic curve cryptography and hash functions together, including Schnorr signatures and Taproot, okay? So we are here in encryption. We will be using the elliptic curve cryptography and hash functions to produce, and ciphers, okay, symmetric ciphers, to produce a encrypted, authenticated stream of data between you and I as two peers on the network. So I know, not authenticated, actually, no. Well, authenticated in the sense like this, that when I make a connection to you and I begin talking to you, it's all encrypted and no one can get in the middle, and I'm never talking to someone else during the connection.
I see.
I'm always talking to you. Whoever I'm talking to you with at the beginning is always the person I'm talking to the whole time. Okay, and no one can interrupt the connection between us. Doesn't mean I know who you are, right? Doesn't mean I know anything about you. I could be talking to the US government or the Indonesian government on that connection. But all I know is that I'm talking to the same person throughout the connection. Okay, it's a very important property, and it's encrypted.
Yeah.
So it means
so it's like can I ask a question? Yeah, it's like maybe like Signal or WhatsApp is using end-to-end encrypted as well, but I don't know.
Yes,
maybe
in this case, it's authenticated. That's a very important part, right? So when I send a message to you, to say it's authenticated is a bit of a step, but if you check the session numbers, I don't know if you know WhatsApp, and I think Signal definitely has, and WhatsApp I think as well. A way of checking your numbers. So if let's say you and I meet up in real life, or we could do it on this Zoom call right now, I could go to my Signal and like say, do you have this number on the other side? And you say yes, and I verify that. And that's like the final step.
I think Telegram use that, you know. Telegram is not.
Telegram is a mixed bag. But Signal and WhatsApp have this feature. And then we know that we are not only encrypted end-to-end, but also authenticated. And even without doing that, we have a decent idea that we should be authenticated, unless someone, I think at WhatsApp, is like messing with us, right? So it's possible someone at WhatsApp could be messing with us. But as we do that step, then we have encrypted and authenticated. Whereas what we want to bring to Bitcoin is just encrypted, okay? This very basic thing, so our ISP cannot see what we're doing. Like, that's a big problem. And so BIP 324 looks like it's going really well. And so I think it's been a long process specifying that. I haven't kept up to date recently, but I was quite involved in different steps in it. And I'm going to try and check it out, how close we are. But I think we're getting pretty close to having that deployed, and hopefully having the majority of Bitcoin traffic encrypted. Yeah,
exactly. And then it has something to do with the what is called silent payment. That's Ruben tried to present it.
No, this has nothing to do with it. This is totally totally different thing. Silent payments is a way of, Bitcoiners, some people think it's not a good feature, but we can do this thing in Bitcoin. We just post an address, right? Perhaps under your YouTube video, you have a donation address. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
A donation address, like, if you like this content, send me some Bitcoins here, right? Problem with that is that everyone can see that donation address, right? And then everyone can see
the wallet. Exactly.
And they also know, like, when you send to Binance, they can say, oh, Iman Yuda is a Binance user, because they can see the Binance wallet, right? So it's like, he's not
particularly when you're doing like KYC, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right, he's not meant to be using that, or like maybe it's banned in Indonesia. I don't know. I think it's banned in Malaysia. So, you can see what is happening with that address. Silent payments is a new trick, okay, that becomes possible with Taproot, where you put a donation address there, but no one can see payments being made to it. Even if just because you see the donation address, does not mean you can track the donation address on chain. In fact, like
untraceable, right? I mean,
on this topic we talked about before, right? Making Taproot every payment look like every other payment. It would just look like any other Taproot payment to this address, but the address is different every time. So it essentially means that if I make a donation to you, it's a different address than if someone else made a donation to you, and you're the only one who knows it came to your donation address, but no one else I cannot link, the donation address from someone else. The only way to link it is if you spend the coins together, which is still a problem, right? If you spend all those I donated to you, and then you spend a donation from 100 other people, I know that that must have been in the same transaction, that all of those must have been probably donation addresses, or at least coins you received. So I could sort of see a wallet that way. So it's not like a bulletproof thing, but it is helpful. It is like part of that, just clearing out this a reuse of an address is important, I think. So that's what the silent payments proposal is about. I think it's very practical and very good.
Yeah, you need to like use the address once, right? I don't know, maybe because the privacy all that. So
it allows you to generate addresses. Anyone who wants to send you money can generate an address.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, because it's become untraceable.
Not before silent payments. You need the trick in it. Like if you just put an address, there's no way to. You need the trick. Silent payments has a cryptography trick in there.
Yeah.
That allows you to just different people to generate different addresses, and actually it depends on the coins you're spending. So it's like if you send certain coins, each coin that you send will sort of generate a different address.
Yeah,
from the determined by the coin you're sending. Okay, so that's how it works.
So what about Coinjoin transaction? It's completely untraceable, right?
No.
Oh no. Yeah, because it can still do it like forensic or something, right?
First of all, the first thing is everyone can see you did a coin join. Okay.
Yeah,
this is a big problem. I have this problem with these characters at FTX. You know, this exchange. And they are always sending mean emails to me if I do a coin join when I deposit, or if I do a coin join when I withdraw. They're sending me like, we really don't want you to do this, and we're going to close your account if you do this again. So that's the first problem with Coinjoin, is very much you can tell that they're doing it, and that is a quite a big problem in my opinion. So then you have the problem we mentioned before, is that you leave a kind of a fingerprint. Your wallet has a kind of fingerprint on the blockchain. With Taproot, we can get rid of it, right? If wallets upgrade and use all these things properly and stuff we haven't specified yet. So I'm not saying blaming anyone for not doing it, stuff that we're working on. But in the future, we can get Taproot transactions all kind of look the same, but right now it's not the same. So if you do like a 2 or 3 multi-sig, and then you spend from that 2 or 3 multi-sig into a coin join, and then you take out the coins into a 2 or 3 multi-sig, well, you can see that before there was a 2 or 3 multi-sig, and afterwards there's a 2 or 3 multi-sig. Well, what if no one else in the coin join did 2 or 3 multi-sig before and after? Well, maybe it's going to be you, right? So this is not untraceable in this manner. So you should not use uncommon transaction or like wallet types. So like these wallets, like I think like Samurai and this Wasabi, or Sparrow, they all have like, they're using this like a normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
It's
on that. So
it's all me, right? So yeah, guys, you can just by yourself whether it's like traceable or not by looking at those explanation before, right? So yeah, because that's pretty much
it's
about
really not a great user-facing tool for privacy. That's the thing I would say about Coinjoin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it has a place in the future of Bitcoin. I think in general, maybe you can generalize like batch transactions have a place. So people batching their transactions together has a place. But Coinjoin as a user-facing tool where you click coin join, I want to do a coin join now, or like automatically, is not, I don't think it's going to be, people are not going to be doing that in 3 years. It's not a great tool because it's going to get better, but the problem with it right now is that all the inputs are the same, right? Same value rates. Or like
absolutely.
So this is,
because that's you can yourself, guys. So yeah, I will, share a link about it. Maybe because people have their own preference, right? I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So yeah, it's it's been like an hour already.
Right now, is a useful tool right now, but its use is limited to very specialized circumstances and specialized people, and you shouldn't be like thinking you're guaranteeing privacy unless you really know what you're doing. With that thing, like
invest in yourself first.
An expert. It's an expert tool that is not very effective, even when the experts are using it. When you're not an expert, it's gonna be
please
tough.
please take care of yourself by investing in yourself, I guess. So yeah, it's time is running out already. I mean, like it's just for fun. Maybe you have like price prediction for the next 2 years. Yeah, it just just for
you
fun.
have 6 months. That's what I will say. You have 6 months to accumulate Bitcoin. I don't know what price you're going to accumulate it at. Maybe it goes down to 15K or something. I don't know, but you should be accumulating over the next 6 months because things are not looking good in the the greater financial system, and things are looking very good from the Bitcoin development pipeline. I think things are going to be coming together over the next few years, and you're going to see the biggest improvements in protocol layer, like the layer 2 on top of Bitcoin is going to see the biggest improvements over the next 2 years than it's ever seen.
Yeah.
And so you should be accumulating Bitcoin during this dip.
BT,
Stack sats, DCA, you know, you got to start your DCA now because you've only got 6 months and you want to get a head start. And you might lose all your money, but it would have been worth it because you would have been able to tell people you were part of the revolution. You tried to stop the WEF, right? You tried your best, but anyway, we have to get our microchips on our foreheads or whatever in the end.
Okay, guys.
That's what you can say. That's what I think you should guarantee. You're guaranteed with Bitcoin. You can say you tried to stop.
Exactly.
Coming next.
I think that's it for today. Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure. Have a good night.